In the community, the topic of how to forge a black blade is huge, with everybody debating over the source material that we already have to creating crazy theories out of the wazoo. It's said to say that nobody's been able to crack the secrets on how to forge a black blade, but in this video I'm going to do just that. So strap in, lock in, like and subscribe, and let's get straight into the video. In the One Piece world, there are only two people that have been able to create a black blade, and they are Ryuma and Mihawk. Now these two are held at the pinnacle of swordsmanship, since obviously Ryuma is called the sword god, and as we know now, Mihawk is called the world's greatest swordsman or the world's strongest swordsman. And personally, I feel like these titles are attributed to the fact that they have a black blade, and that is what sets them apart from every other swordsman. So with that being said, the feat of creating a black blade means that you are basically the greatest at swordsmanship as a whole. Now as we know, Haki has to be involved in creating a black blade in some way. I mean, look, just the whole black aesthetic, and I think there was a book that came out that was like, yeah, no, Haki does influence black blades in some way. Now if Haki was the only thing you needed to use to wield a black blade, well, I mean, look, we would have had Shanks with a black blade, Roger would have had a black blade, Whitebeard would have had a black blade, and all of these top tier fighters with their blades would have been black already, since they're really proficient at using Haki. But that is not the case with these guys. Another sole condition we need to rule out is the fact that they love their blades. If that was the case, Oden would have awakened his blades into a black blades, and Roger would have awakened his blade into a black blade. Loving your sword and solely having great Haki isn't the key to unlocking a black blade. There has to be another thing in there that we're missing, that obviously Ryuma and Mihawk got down that the rest didn't. And for this, I want us all to look at their type of blade and really sit down and analyze what it is. Both Mihawk and Ryuma's blades are cursed blades. Now yes, the others do have cursed blades, obviously Enma being a blade that's cursed, or in quotation marks cursed. I'm going to use cursed blades in this video just to make it easier. I know there's obviously other names out there for them, but I'm just going to call them cursed blades since it's easy for you guys to understand. So since they have cursed blades, right, there has to be something they got down with them, and in my eyes I believe it's total mastery over their ability. Now I know you're going to be like, oh, but Oden had Enma and he had total mastery over his blade. Well, yes, to a certain extent. It's clear that whenever Zoro wields Enma, it has these green flames that appear. Now obviously Oden has never been shown to do this, and obviously if he's shown to do this in the future, then obviously I can't really say much. But with this being said, we now need to see the difference between when he's using Enma and when obviously Oden was using Enma. It's clear that there's something different that Zoro's doing to the blade that's allowing it to react like this, and I think this is what's going to allow him to master the blade properly. You also need to factor in that cursed blades can technically choose their wielder, and with that being said, Enma could possibly like Zoro a lot more than Oden, and so it's allowing Zoro to tap into his full capabilities and allowing him to master it. As said here, the sword has its own personality, so you need to bend it to your own will. But personally, I feel like it's an assimilation of both of your wills that could create a black blade, and obviously with you mastering its capabilities, you then are able to then push it to that next level. Now when Zoro uses Shisui, he obviously has to coat the blade in Haki himself. Now I believe when Ryuma uses it, he doesn't need to do that because Shisui will activate the Haki that Ryuma's put inside of it. The best way to put it is when Joy Boy put that rope inside of MF, and MF has to obviously untie it for the ATOC or just the Conqueror's Haki just to come out, right? I believe that you technically do that with your black blade, but it's different. You store your Haki differently to where only you can then tap into that already stored Haki that's there, meaning you won't have to activate your Haki, it will just do it naturally itself. And I think that's why Zoro was really never able to kind of wield Shisui the way he technically wanted to wield it. Shisui had assimilated to Ryuma, meaning only Ryuma could tap into Shisui's full power, and we would be able to see what Shisui can really do in Ryuma's hands. The same way if Zoro was to try to pick up Yoru isn't going to work the exact same way it works for Mihawk. I'll say the exact same thing goes for if Ryuma was to pick up Yoru would not act the exact same way as it would if Mihawk picked it up, and obviously vice versa with their blades. When you turn your cursed blade black, that is when it's in your own hands and nobody else can pick it up and use it the exact same way you would, even if they are as strong as you. Now I know you're thinking, Kosu, why do you keep saying only cursed blades can be turned black? Didn't Mihawk say all blades can be turned black? No. I'm going to explain to you the exact scenario and why you really need to understand the context of what he's saying it in. Mihawk says every blade can be turned into a black blade like mine. He then goes on to say, you cannot drink any liquor until you've mastered this feat. And before that, he talks about infusing it with haki and saying that if he infused it with haki, it wouldn't have broken. Yes, any blade can be turned black, but only certain blades can be turned permanently black. And that is why obviously Zoro is able to drink liquor and do whatever he wants after. Because as we know, Zoro hasn't created a black blade yet, so I don't know why like he's drinking if he didn't create a black blade. So with that out of the way, it gives my statements more validation, and to the point where only if you have a cursed blade can you really turn it into a proper black blade. Now you may be thinking, oh, but doesn't the Shanks and the others like have cursed blades and whatnot, and why haven't they turned their blades into black blades yet? The differences between them and Mihawk and Ryuma, and obviously Zoro in the future, is the fact that there is something that they are missing. And I do believe that when I talked about the love part before, I don't believe that they truly understand their blades. The difference between Mihawk, Zoro in the future, and obviously Ryuma is I believe that they are of a different type of like swordsman, to where it's like they understand their blades, to where Shanks and them, they are swordsmen, don't get me wrong, but I don't believe that they truly understand their sword, and they don't really want to master it, if that makes sense. Like, they may understand their sword, but their sword may not truly assimilate to them, which is why they never create a black blade. I think that's probably the best case for Oden, as I said before, Zoro was able to unlock the green flames and the King of Hell stuff that Enma was able to bestow upon him, but yet Oden didn't. And that is something that is a massive like tell into being like, okay, cool. There is obviously something that Zoro is doing differently, or there's something about Zoro that's different to obviously what Oden was doing with the sword. Now while I'm at it, I'm going to go over what sword I believe is going to bloom into a black blade for Zoro first. His first blade is Wado Ichimonji. Now personally, I believe that Wado is actually the sword that gives him Ashura. And I believe Zoro doesn't have a full complete mastery over Ashura, as he only uses it when it's his last resort. And so when he masters Ashura, he's obviously going to be able to master Wado. And I could be wrong, and it could be Sandai, but me personally, I believe Wado Ichimonji is the one that gives him Ashura, and I don't believe that it's just an innate ability that Zoro has. No, I believe that Wado is giving him Ashura in some sense, and that's probably his curse, since it hasn't been outrightly stated what Wado's special ability is, and the only thing that we've seen come up time and time again is Ashura. Now this is the point where I expect people to be like, okay, cool, let's put out the translator, let's see if Wado Ichimonji is able to translate to something close to Ashura. Now I don't know if it does, but in my opinion, in my theory, I believe that Wado Ichimonji is the catalyst for Ashura, and I do believe that near to his fight against Mihawk, or during his fight against Mihawk, he will master Ashura, and I think Zoro will be able to just tap into Ashura whenever he wants, and that would be like basically his main power up at the end of the series, which would make him insanely busted, by the way. With that being said, I want to wrap everything up. To create a black blade, you need to understand the blade. The blade needs to actually like you and want to give you its full capabilities. 3, it needs to properly assimilate with you, meaning that your haki will be on it 24/7. Only you can activate that haki, by the way, nobody else can. But with that being said, that's enough of our music there. I'm out. I love you all. Thank you for all the support, and goodbye.